So, Vlad, Eliran, very happy to have you here on our webinar.
Thank you.
Um, let's go. Let's start.
You. All right, that's great. Fun stuff, guys. Thank you very much for joining. Um, I'm Eliran. I'm from Lightrun, and today we're going to talk about some AI coding tools that evolving fast. And the question is, how do we turn AI from a cool demo into a reliable partner for production-ready code? With me, we have, of course, our fantastic expert, Java champion and performance guru, Vlad. Uh,
Nice. Thanks for inviting me.
of
Thanks everyone
course.
for joining.
And yeah, so quick notes from the beginning, just for everybody to know, this is a recorded session. Everything will be shared afterwards, of course, and we totally encourage everybody to share your questions and to share your ideas in the chat as we move forward, because we want to make it as interactive as possible. And the most important part is that you're going to get some tips, practical, effective tips on how to use AI prompts and better use it in your day-to-day work. So without further ado, let's jump in. Let's start.
Let's start.
Let's quickly go over the agenda. Okay, for today, we will do a quick intro for us, really 30 seconds, and then we will go and discuss about the current status of the AI in software development, opportunities and risks. And then we're going to show some researchers, and then we're going to go to the most important part, and we're going to want to make sure that we have enough time. We have 45 minutes for this webinar, so we want to have enough time for recommendation for writing effective AI prompts. And for this, we're going to show some cool examples, and we're going to see some cool results from the AI, different tools of the AI, and eventually we're going to show you some practical tips for writing better prompts. Okay, this would be like the most important part. And of course, we're going to do some live demo with you guys. We encourage you guys. So by the time we will get to this agenda point, we want you guys to be with us and share some interesting prompts with us. We will do this on the fly. We'll do this live. All right? And then we will have some time for the Q&A. All right, let's dive in and let's do it. I'm Eliran, Senior Technical Account Manager from the automation and the delivery world. I work with lots of developers from all around the globe, doing some on-site workshops and webinars and online courses. Yeah, with me, Vlad, please.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Vlad Mihalcea. I'm the CTO of Hypersistence, which basically is my own company, so I could put there any title I want. I've been previously, people know me from my blog and from the time I was working on the Hibernate project, and most of the content that I created and the examples that I will have here are also somehow related to Hibernate, because it's a technology that is very popular, and it creates a lot of opportunities for improvement, which even for this demo is going to be very valuable. And yeah, for my company, I have all sorts of things that I create. Besides books, video courses, there are also tools like Hypersistence Utiles, which is open source, and Hypersistence Optimizer, which is an automated performance improvement tool. So basically, that's me.
All right.
All right, and to get started, we're currently living through a very interesting time, because it's like an AI revolution which happened, basically started since OpenAI released the first version of ChatGPT that we could use and interact with. AI is very old, actually. It's been since the 50s. I think everyone who graduated computer science or anything related learned something about AI. But it was the fact that we now have the hardware and we have the computing power of the cloud, and we also have the transformer optimizations, that all these combined allowed us to have generative AI. Of course, we used to have like predictive AI, which has been in use by Netflix, by Google for ads, by Meta for Facebook. So AI was used. Even Grammarly, I've been using Grammarly for 10 years and they've been using AI. But now it's been available to everyone. We have it in our IDEs, we have it everywhere. So the transition was like this. Traditionally, like 3 years ago, we used to be like on the left column. It was a traditional development. As a software developer, I would have to design, to read the business requirement, to create a design, to write the implementation, to review other people, pull requests, the code that they were sending to me, and we needed to integrate, we needed to make the deployments. Whenever there was a problem, we needed to do the troubleshooting, and we would go to Stack Overflow, and we would read blogs and all sort of other resources. So that was basically the life that we had back then. Since ChatGPT, and now we have a lot of other tools, Copilot, Claude. Now we have, and I think some of you, to some degree, I think that you have been interacting probably using these AI assisted tools that we have. Copilot, GitHub Copilot, there are many of them. Claude is very popular. There's also Cursor, there's JetBrains Juni. Of course, you can go to the web, you have ChatGPT there, and you can write, but you also have it integrated in your IDEs. Lightrun, for instance, has Debug Zero. I reviewed it on my YouTube channel. It works very well. And I think we are moving as an industry towards this AI augmented development mode, which is basically you sometimes you will hear it as or you will hear the term agentic AI, which means the difference between AI assisted and agentic AI is that while AI assisted is reactive, it reacts to what you tell it to do. The agentic AI is more proactive, so it tries to coordinate by itself. It tries to do more work so that your input is minimal. Basically, so this is the state of where we are, and to some degree, some of us are in one, let's say, in one column, or maybe combining, depending on what we're developing. In my case, for high persistence utils or optimizer, I'm basically a traditional developer. But for other things, I'm also doing AI assisted. You can
All
write on
right.
the chat whether you're
Yes,
doing.
yes, please do. Please write what you think in the chat. So yeah, the transition is totally there. And when I specifically speak with developers, every time I see all of them using the AI assistants. Let's go over quickly on some research and some
Yes.
current
So
adoption. Mhm.
this chart here is from McKinsey. It's from 2025. It's for this year, and what we can see here is the fact that we used to have AI. As I said, Netflix had AI, and Grammarly and Meta had AI. We know about all these companies because it was not a secret. They've been employing it. Was predictive AI because we had TensorFlow. Even for many, I remember attending a conference in 2018, and someone was presenting something with TensorFlow. So AI, it was there, people were experimenting with it. But what you can see there from 33% to 79% is from McKinsey, basically the use of Gen AI. And it exploded from December 2022 when ChatGPT released their public version. It just exploded and it got really, really popular. And what it means that it creates a lot of value. And this rapid adoption tells us that people are very unlikely to go back to that traditional development mode without when we didn't have any AI. You can see it in the graph of Stack Overflow, which has been in decline, that people now prefer to use this Gen AI tool. So, and it's not just McKinsey actually. We have it in the next slide. This is from Google. This is from Dora, a report that they created, which tells the same story. It's 90%. So 90% of the people that they asked are using, they are interacting, they integrated AI into their daily life development workflows, and only 10% have not used AI at all. Sometimes it's not necessarily because they are not curious. Maybe sometimes some types of development they do not necessarily fit into the current AI. But as you can see,
Right.
90%, that's a lot. It's
And
really a lot.
with the massive adoption of
Exactly.
the AI throughout all these companies and organizations, it's really important to be that they need to be they need to be effective on how they scale and use the
Exactly.
prompting and making sure the things that they are using are in the not risky. And this is why it leads us to the
Exactly.
pros and cons of using AI.
Exactly, because being such a young technology, we didn't have enough time to assert the opportunities and the risk carefully because it didn't evolve over a longer period of time so that we can get used to it. And I think it's even more important to be aware of this. Now, related to the pros, I think you've been experiencing it yourself. You get a higher productivity boost because now you can do much more than you did before, because in those 8 hours of development now, not only that you can do your part, but AI can also do a part of its own and address some things that otherwise previously would have taken you quite a lot of research using Google and all sorts of things. Now AI can take care of that part. You can build prototypes rapidly, which is valuable because you can share them with the stakeholders, and they can validate an idea much rapidly instead of investing a lot of development time to build something that in the end that's not what they wanted, and all those resources have been spent doing work that nobody needed. And we nobody has infinite resources. We have limited resources, be it time, energy, money, so we want to be as effective as possible. AI allows us to build these prototypes much more rapidly than we used to do before. One thing which this is a very unpopular opinion. It gives you an opportunity to learn even more. Now you may think, what's this? I mean, I'm using it not to learn. Just AI should do the learning. No, no, no. It's you as I think we the humans have this great ability which has helped us to get on the top of all the um, beings that are on this planet. The fact that we can learn and we can share our knowledge. And the thing is that using AI you can also create like learning plans. I've been doing this for 2 years and it's great. You can address topics which otherwise previously I didn't even know how to start. It can create a plan for you with resources, and you can even verify rapidly your how much you or what's the progress. You can tell it, okay, shoot me some questions so that I can answer to see whether it's, and you can assert to see whether I got it properly or not. And
Yeah.
that's I think it's important. And it's also important for the next thing because it allows us to be more productive, and because it can do things for us. For me, which I'm mostly a back-end developer, I can also do some things which previously were more difficult on my part for front end. So I know front end, of course, but I'm not so familiar with the latest technologies, the latest Angular developments that have been done, or Vue.js. But now with AI, I can very confidently do that part or do some advanced CSS that otherwise an AI could explain it for me, because previously I wouldn't know what I was doing there. And the thing is that you can also use it to explain it to you. You don't have to take anything from granted. You can use AI not only to build you, to give you some examples, but also to explain, to give you what are the chain of thought. What's the reason why that solution was chosen in the first place?
That's right. And of course, the speed. It's all about the speed,
Exactly.
and developers want to deliver fast. And sometimes it can lead to some risks, to some cons.
Exactly.
And one of the
Yes.
things that we are getting from the results of the AI that we trust it too much. Sometimes we don't know what we are looking for, or we are using prompt not in the best quality that we want to use, and therefore we are getting results that we are not sure of them, and so we are not doing extra steps to making sure and to validate the results are accurate and specifically to our needs, and it leads to poor quality code, and then eventually to maintenance sprints, like everybody are familiar with. And so it poses a risk. It poses a risk when we trust the AI too much and not asking more questions or providing prompt which is more focused on what we actually need. And the most importantly, is the missing validation layers. When we create more and more tests using AI, we skip the automated tests sometimes, and sometimes security scans as well, and the code reviews processes creating gaps where errors and vulnerabilities slip through to production. And this is one of the reasons why I joined Lightrun. Actually, Lightrun has a tool that specifically resolved information and provides you real runtime context information using our agents and with the AI. So it's another really good stuff. Yeah, and last thing would be the absence of governance. And without clear policies, everybody can use AI, everybody can use prompts. If you don't have like standardizations in your company, it will create chaos, compliance risks, and other security things. And before we move to the next slide, do you want to add something here? Vlad,
No, I think
let's
it's pretty
let's
much
continue.
that's pretty much what I would say as well.
All right, cool. All right, so let's quickly go over the problems developer face. You know all these things, right? You know, so this is like the intro sections, too much time debugging, fragmented knowledge, legacy systems. This is the most painful part, right? Legacy systems. How do you support them? How do you know how to get real information on them? Monorepo, it's really challenging. And with the AI, now it can help you to overcome it. And of course, quality under pressure. I think that we are ready right now to do go to the practical parts and then
Exactly.
show some recommendation for writing effective AI prompts. Let's go
All
ahead and
right.
start.
Yeah, so basically, we will start with some examples. These are some examples which uh, you can easily bump into them. So let's say that I'm developing an application with Java. Java is very popular, and it could be Spring, it could be Quarkus. You are using either way. You're using JPA, which behind the scenes uses Hibernate in the default implementations, and I'm developing a microservice. I'm fetching some data from the database. I want to display it on the screen. And all of a sudden, one of my implementations, in one of my tests, I get this lazy initialization exception. Let's say that I'm not very familiar with it. I don't know much about it. So once you get the stack trace, you would go and previously you would go and Google it. Now you can go to Copilot and tell it to how to fix it. And we have a link here that if you click it, basically this is a link from Copilot to see this is exactly the same prompt. What you would get, what is the response? What are the suggestions that are being given from Copilot? And you can see the first one, fetch type eager to change the mapping. I can tell you because I've been working on Hibernate. This is one of the worst things that you could do. So you know the thing is that unless you have the knowledge to assert it, you get a suggestion, but that suggestion might not be the best one. Unfortunately, this one has been trained on Stack Overflow. It was the same on Stack Overflow. Just because you read some answer with a lot of with a lot of answers, it doesn't mean it's the most correct one. You have to check also who provided it and also check the comments. The second one is also very dangerous. Open session in view. That one was unfortunately enabled by default in Spring Boot 1, and because it's very difficult to revert that change in Spring Boot 2, they created a warning. If when you bootstrap Spring, if they see it, it will tell you that that's not a good idea to have it. So you can see the first two. If you blindly apply them, that wouldn't work. But you have the risk there. But if you have the risk, you see you have some links there. You have to go and then you have to read more about it. That's why we mentioned that it's an opportunity to learn. Don't blindly trust these and don't apply them because there is a caveat to them. Even the third one is not that great. Only the fourth one starts to become much better. The fifth one is not even. I can tell you because I remember this is basically trained on Stack Overflow. I remember even the order of the messages. It's from, if you go to one of the resources, you will find the Stack Overflow message. So the thing is that that prompt that we used, how to fix lazy initialization exception, was too narrow. We didn't provide too much information. We didn't provide too much context. We didn't say what mappings we have, what mappings we would like to keep, to maintain. What's the fetching strategy for the current transaction that we're using? What is the transaction? What are the transaction boundaries? Where we got this issue? Did we get it in the service layer? We get it in the web layer? What exactly is the purpose of fetching all that data? Where should it go? And the more information you provide, as you will see next, if we get now and we provide all this information, and I tell that I'm building this JP application, I have all my associations, fetch type lazy, I want to fetch entities in the service layer, I'm getting this exception when rendering the response in the web layer, and I want a solution to this that shouldn't compromise performance. And this is a much more detailed prompt, and if we click on this copilot, and basically which encapsulates the response, because it will now just try to give you the response based on this prompt that we changed, you can see that the response differs a lot compared to what we had before. And actually the first one is correct. This is using join fetch is how you should deal with it. This lazy initialization exception is like null pointer exception. It tells you that you made a mistake, so now you have to fix it. And fixing means that in this case we need to fetch, we needed more data, and we didn't fetch it when we were supposed to fetch it inside the transactional context. So the first answer is correct. The second one is also correct. We could use DTO projection. Maybe we don't even need entities. So you see, an entity graph, this is also a valid option. All three of them are valid. So you can see how we shaped the prompt, provided more context, about why we got exception, the current architecture that we're using, the layers, the mappings, the fact that I'm interested in performance as well. I don't want any solution. I don't want a solution that compromises performance, because you can get that kind of solution with fetch type eager, but that's not the proper solution for a non-trivial application. And most of the time, we're not building non-trivial applications. We're building some serious applications, because it's very rare that you only build prototypes. That's the exception, not the rule. So this is one example, but we have other examples if you want. And one thing, I think this is very important, because for the most popular LLM that people are familiar with, which is ChatGPT, you don't get these resources, or you don't always get these extra resources or the links that were used to formulate the answer. And you get them in Copilot. You will see whenever we have this, whenever we're sharing something in Copilot, you sometimes see the links where the information was taken. But most of the time I use Perplexity if I want to also to get the links. And in Perplexity, if you apply the same, we basically just use the same prompt with Perplexity. And what's interesting about it, this one, you see, it gives you a slightly different response. But what I like about it, you can see that you have some links, so you can validate. You see a sentence, and then you have the link, so you can validate to see, is this really correct or is it hallucinating? Because now you have a way to assert whether the response is correct and who gave you the answer. And in this case, you can validate and see exactly where this information is. It was taken from Fujay, it was taken from Stack Overflow, Torben Janssen, who writes about JP and Hibernate, and he's an expert. There's also my blog there as well. So you can see and you can judge for yourself whether, the second one is, that's a very good link.
Yeah, so
that's how you should fix
a
it.
fantastic one.
It's over there. You can skip the LLM, just use that one. That's it.
We also talked about not having like the forums, right? Stack Overflow and other tools that used to provide really good information about how to write code and what works and what's not. Now everything becomes like questions and answers, right? Like a conversation. Where is the community? Where is the likes of some certain results that worked for them or not worked for them. So this is what you're talking about, where the sources are really in crucial part when you choose your the
And
correct result.
it also gives you the opportunity, if it's a blog, it gives you the opportunity to go to the blog and then to write a comment to the author and then be in touch with a human being. Also, the way that we sometimes we use these LLMs resembles the fact that we've been using Google for a long time. So sometimes we're using that way, but it's not the most efficient way. As Eliran was saying previously, it's a more conversational style. It looks more like it's very close to how you'd normally talk to an external consultant. That's you need to shift your mindset to a more conversational mode, even with AI. So you provide more details, but I think that even if you do that, having the possibility of checking some links, I think it's valuable because those are like a guardrail. You can, and then you can see what's the level of hallucinating that and whether you can trust that particular answer.
Yes.
Of course, just because you experienced 10 good prompts that provided you great answers, it doesn't mean that from now on onward everything that AI will tell you is going to be correct. That's, you should
And I
always check.
agree with Vlad. I agree with Vlad. Always check and also consider the AI as a consultant.
Which can also be wrong. The consultant can also be wrong.
The
That's
consultant
it.
can also be wrong. That's right. That's right.
So
So you need to
you have to
challenge him. That's
challenge
right.
AI just like you challenge everyone. On Stack Overflow, it was like this. Someone would write something, you challenge it. That way we had comments, you had upvotes, downvotes. So you would
Don't overtrust the AI. Okay?
exactly,
Don't trust your intuitions, and then do the research. Do your own research as well.
exactly. And when you approach a subject that you don't know, try to use AI also to give you an opportunity to learn in order for you to become in to be knowledgeable enough to assert what are the suggestions so that you evolve together with AI. So it gives you a solution and then you investigate and try to understand it. So yeah, it takes more time, but in the long run, it's much better for you as well. You grow also with the solutions that you are fixing. The
That's
next
right.
one, this is a very interesting use case because this really depends on your perspective, how you see the problem, and then the solution is shaped by the way in which you are viewing this current problem. The thing is that in this case, we have like a forum, and then we want to represent question and answers, and we have like a post entity, and then we need to make a difference which post is a question, which one is an answer, and most likely that you would have a post type enumeration that creates this. And you can see here that we created a prompt which is it contains quite a lot of information which describes the problem, and this is what it tells us. It tells us to use this post type, and if I want to persist it, it would tell me that I should use, it's important, you can see here, important, store enum string. So it tells me that this is much better, and then it tells me why it's much better, because it's much more readable. So from the application perspective, I would say this is correct. This is correct because it gives me readability. So because we read code more than we write it, that would be valuable. And then if I go on that path, it tells me to write it, of course, as a varchar or character varying or something like that, as text in the database. But now, if we go back and we change and we change the context a little bit, and now we tell that this is from Stack Overflow. Actually, this is the database that was powering Stack Overflow. They had this post table. They had 50 million questions and answers. And I want to do that. I want to build like a Stack Overflow website storing 50 million after 10 years, to storing 50 million questions and answers. I want it to be very compact because it has to be cached in the buffer pool. That's exactly how Stack Overflow was designed. It was using a single SQL Server node for that. And I'm changing slightly, this is the same answer, and I want to tell it what is an efficient way in which I could represent these enum values, store them in the database, and to give me some examples for Postgres and MySQL. And if we go now with this prompt, It's the same, basically, it's the same problem. Designing the way in which we store that enum. And you will see now that it starts to analyze, okay, 50 million rows, you want them to be in the buffer pool. And so what would be the most efficient way? If it's Postgres, use a small int. You don't have tiny int, you have small int. So then, of course, you can use a boolean, but only boolean would work only for two values. But if you're using a small int, you can store multiple values, just like enums can have 10, 20 values there. Or if it's MySQL, you have tiny int, 1 byte, you could store up to 256 values. So you can see it doesn't tell us to use a string anymore. It tells us to use a number because it's much more efficient, much more compact. Instead of storing there 5, 10 bytes per record value, we can now use 1 or 2 bytes to represent that value. So you can see how the answer shapes based on your perspective. So if you provide all the context of what you want, in the end, that's going to be much more valuable. That's why in the IDE, if you have it integrated, but even then, it has to be aware of what you also have in the database. So you need to provide more context, otherwise you don't get the best results. So before we do the live demo, some takeaway. So what you can take from this, you need to provide as much context as possible. Also, not only for the requirements, also for the non-functional requirements like performance, something that should have security in mind and reusability, and as much as possible, just like you would do with a colleague that would have the task of implementing some feature. If you don't provide context to one of your colleagues, the result will be almost similar to AI. It will be less, not as, probably it will deviate from what you wanted. Because because if you don't give good requirements, you don't get good outcome. Also, right, you should have a conversational style, provide the context even incrementally based on what you get in return until you get the right you get to the right solution that you wanted in the first place. Validate the results. Do it. Try to use even multiple tools. Sometimes I use multiple AI tools and check the results and get a more comprehensive view of the problem space and the solution space to try to find exactly what are the trade-offs, because most of the time in development we are in the business of trade-offs. You have to consider multiple solutions, balance them. Sometimes you are not maybe it's not the cleanest code possible, but it's the one that works, and it's stable, it's tested, and if you change it too much, you'll break and you'll get your manager unhappy, and that's sometimes you have to make a lot of trade-offs.
And of course, this is really important point, which leads us to the runtime context of Lightrun, exactly for these validation results. As well, not only for multiple tools, but also in your runtime context. Lightrun provides real-time runtime context by letting you guys collect logs and metrics and snapshots from live applications without redeploying. If you're not familiar, you can check out lightrun.com. We'll now have working on our MCP integration with the AI assistants that can safely request and use live data to reason more accurately. So, with the transformation for these AI assistant tools and with Lightrun, you can get context-aware debugging partner. Check it out with Lightrun. Yes, and we also didn't mention the shift from asking questions to having conversation, right? This is one also important point that we mentioned. Treat the prompting as an interactive dialogue, not as a one-time query. And as Vlad mentioned, challenge it all the time, all the time. You need to engage with the AI as a real consultant, not as a search engine. It's a mind shift, right? It's a mind shift, and you need to work on it. But for reasoning, recommendations, and alternatives and trade-offs, as Vlad mentioned, don't accept output blindly. Use your own judgment.
Exactly.
Okay, review, refine, and make the final call. And last but not least, right? If this one pager would be the one slide that burned into your mind, this one. This is the one that we want you.
Take with your phone. You can
That's
phone,
right.
although we record it. You can use your phone now. And
Yes.
get a lot of from this slide. All
Okay,
right.
so we have 12 or 13 minutes. I think we should go to the live demo, guys. This is
Exactly.
your time to shine. Your time to shine. We are here for you guys. Please, if anyone has any interesting prompt, any interesting issue, query that you want to share with us, we can do this right now, live with you.
Mm-hmm.
So, do we have someone from the crowd? Feel free. This is your time.
You can
And
use
let's
the
give another.
QA. You can use the chat, whichever works for you. So if you have like a problem from yeah, so we have someone already in the chat. So let's see.
Niloy. We have
So,
Niloy.
so we have the latest React vulnerability detection. That's a very good question. Let's see. Let's give it a try. We can use Copilot. We can use ChatGPT. So what do you propose, Eliran? Which one shall we? So we can
Whatever.
let's take that one. Let's take that one and give it a try. So let's check this latest React vulnerabilities because this is a very important thing for front end. You're using a JavaScript framework, and then of course you want to have a solution that
Verify that I'm a human. I am.
yeah.
Okay. And afterwards, we will
So
go to Niloy. Yes,
so
afterwards, we will go to Niloy. Just a second.
let's do it exactly like this. So let's try to see exactly what it does and whether this whether we're satisfied with the answer. So although I'm not very knowledgeable of this topic, I have my own impressions of what I would do or how I would approach this problem. So in this case, it's interesting because it tells us about a critical CVE issue that was there. What's interesting is that people sometimes when they think about security issues, they think about backend database SQL injections, some framework, Spring Hibernate, log4j framework that didn't get updated, but you also can have issues in your front end, which nowadays is much more advanced than it used to be back then. So the thing is that in this case, yeah, what we got here, we got some examples of vulnerabilities that we have, but this is informative because I can learn a lot of things. But that's exactly what I want. How to detect? Okay, so that's basically like an introduction. So of course React is vulnerable to this, but what we can do? So upgrading. Most of the time that happens to to the vast majority of the framework that we have. You have to keep on watch. We have also depend about in GitHub, which you can use, or you can use some other tools which Sneak, probably, if I remember correctly, or CrowdStrike provide you with this information. Also scan your dependencies. That's something extremely valuable. You should use, you should fight AI related problems using AI. So you can use an AI related tool like Sneak has it, CrowdStrike has it, which uses AI to try to scan proactively your code base and provide you with suggestions. I'm happy with the.
And of course, let's eat our own dog food. Let's make sure that that other AI tools will provide more or less the same
exactly
results, right?
And also we can change it a little bit. How? Let's say we can say that okay, so I'm a software developer, and my stack includes React. And I want to make sure, I want a strategy to make sure that I'm going to be aware, and I also want to be notified, and whenever there is a vulnerability, detect it so that I can quickly take action. That's exactly how we write it. To quickly take action and try to provide me a solution that is as automated as possible, because if there's a human that has to manually check all those and the human misses that notification, until you are aware of it, you will be at risk. So we want it to make us automated as possible. So I would write, and then I would change the prompt to provide as more details as possible until I get exactly the solution that I would want. So probably if it's Java, I would integrate Sonar to detect, to check my code base, also to check dependencies. I can tell you how things usually are done in open source. For open source projects, you try to reduce the number of dependencies as much as possible. So if there is some utility, you could sometimes you write it by yourself instead of using a library, because the more libraries you have, the more liable you are. And the more you have, if someone no longer maintains a dependency, then you are at risk, because you are risking of you're risking some security issue. And even if that one is detected, if no one updates the library, you're still at risk. So in this case, what we see here, web security testing around React frontend run basically, this is security assertion that you can do. There's also for OVAT SQL for the cross-site injection. So I think it's okay, but I would probably try to update it more and try to provide me like with a plan. Let's try to see. Okay, so create me a plan for this. So create me a plan that will allow me to introduce a strategy in my company that we can automatically deal with this. A strategy in my company that allows us to automatically detect security vulnerabilities and to reduce the time in between a vulnerability detection and how we address it. Something like that. Because in the end, that's exactly what. And I would be interested to see what is the solution, because here we go next level. Now we are at the point where not only we'll get familiar, but we also want to see, okay, some actionable items. If you go to your manager, so what do you have in mind? What do you want? So we will see. And what's interesting here in Perplexity, you will see that it scans, not only that it uses its own foundational model, it also scans the web. So it uses Air AG as well for that.
Okay,
So
we have like 2 minutes. I think that we showed like it's important to see some other tools. Maybe we can give Niloy a quick minute to share your thoughts. Please, Niloy.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity, but I had kind of a different question, which might not be related to about prompt, but it is about artificial intelligence. That is, in the age of AI, everyone can automate their work up to certain level, especially their intellectual work. You can learn very fast. But in the earlier age, you need a lot of time to do a work. But now everyone can easily do something that was extremely difficult before. So, in the age of AI, what do you think? How to make ourselves relevant as a software engineer in this age of AI? And what is the pathway to make ourselves more relevant in this age? Sorry, that might be a different question that is not related to this topic, but it would be helpful if you just share your thought regarding this
No, it's
topic.
okay,
Thank you.
and it's very relevant, of course, and because it's a very this is a concern that has been. I think a lot of developers are now thinking about this, and I think in this moment, the thing is that we're at the point where it's very hard to predict what will happen in the next year, 2 years, 5 years from now. But actually, there is something very. There is a book actually for Morgan Housel. And the book is called. Actually, he has two books. The second is Same as Ever. The book is called, and he says that sometimes we are focused on the things that on technology achievement, how things have changed, while we also forget how a lot of things haven't really changed over the past like 2000 years, and what really used to work throughout all this time will still work also in the future. So what worked? It was always an advantage if you learned not only knowledge, but how to apply the knowledge, how to coordinate and work with other people, how to the creativity, which is humans have it. That's something that AI will never take it from you. I'm not sure if you experience. I can give you some examples. If you experienced using generating images, there are a lot of images that always looks the same. And now, the more I see them, the more I appreciate the ones which are actually created by humans. Because even when they have flaws, they make them, I don't know, they make them more human, and actually they are more appealing because the way in which we were trained for millions of years to like certain things, we are still going to like that. And I think that AI is not very capable in that regard. I don't remember who said that, but there is an interesting thing that I read. It was a researcher from Japan, and they were developing robots, and he coined a law. I'm not sure how the law is called, but he said that the problem with this technology advancement is that what is very easy for humans is very hard to replicate using robots and using AI. And what's very difficult for humans, like computation, scanning a lot of data, is very easy for computers, for AI. So this is where we are something safe. Sometimes we take for granted some things which we've been familiar with, but actually those are very hard for AI to replace in us. So I think that the more you will try to, I think one thing, if I have to bet on something, I would say that if you're using AI to learn, to develop yourself, to develop your skills, to never stop learning, because as a developer, in our case, we're lucky, we're students for life. Once you chose this field, you're a student for life. You'll never stop learning. And once you embarked on this journey, I think you don't have to stop learning now because we have AI. If you increase your skills, I think you increase your opportunities. And I think that even if AI replaces some jobs that can be replaced, it will open the opportunity for other things. It will open us with new things that if you have the skills, you will see them and you will be better equipped to address them with AI. So now you'll have even more tools, the knowledge, and then you can apply them.
Amazing.
So I think
totally.
that's how I would do it.
Unfortunately, we are a bit out of time. But of course, as mentioned before, we're gonna record everything. Everything is recorded. We're gonna send you everything, and this would be like the main points, key takeaways that you should take. For the Vishal, I saw that you asked a question. Unfortunately, we don't have time to address it, but of course, we will have you can approach us afterwards via email at any time, also via LinkedIn. And it was our pleasure, guys, that you joined us. We hope it was valuable to you. We hope it was effective. And of course, we'd love to hear your thoughts. We'd love if there are any additional topics you'd like us to cover, and maybe to have some more times and less talk about theoretical parts and more being focused on the practical parts. We can do that. So just let us know your voice. We thank you for your time, everybody. Thank you, Vlad, for your great expertise, and we hope to see you next time.
Thank you for the invitation, and thanks everyone for participating. And we can answer the questions afterwards. We'll see. We'll find a way. We'll find a way for the rest. Okay?
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
All the best.